today we have the ultimate Craigslist scam. I've got a very good customer, customer X, we're gonna call him. He has put his car up for sale on Craigslist. They had some email communication, kind of went down like, hey, I don't want to go around you because there's COVID, blah, blah, blah. Even the scammers are using the COVID excuse right now. They agreed and said, okay, you're asking $6,000 for the car. I'll give you $5,800. He said, okay, great. There's gonna be a check in the mail. Pay my shipper the money when he comes in. Okay, no problem. He just received this. The return address is General Motors Company, 300 Renaissance Center. That's a 39-story building in the heart downtown district of Detroit. I've actually walked by this place once. It's a huge square, right? So the scammer has used General Motors headquarter building and address as the return, okay? So there's strike one right there. Strike two, check this checkout. So all of the names and all the account numbers have been blocked out. You can't read any of this. I don't even want to expose the scammer or customer X. But with that being said, there's a check for $11,200. $11,200. They agreed on a price at $5,800. So then to ship the car, allegedly, it's going to cost the difference between the $11,200 and the $5,800. This is the ultimate scam. So what I'm going to do, go ahead and make a phone call to the bank and see if the funds are available, and we're going to see what they say.
Thank you for calling customer care. My name is Kalani. How may I help you?
Yeah, hi. I am selling a vehicle, and I just wanted to make sure that the check that was presented to me had sufficient funds.
We actually cannot verify checks over the phone.
Okay. Can you verify that the funds are available if I give you an account number?
No.
Okay, I'm just worried if it's fraud, you know. If I walk this into the bank, could I show it to you, then you can tell me?
No. Only the person, the owner of that account, is able to get the information. So if the owner is willing to call us on speakerphone and like give us all his information, and then we can verify the balance with them. But for you, no.
Let's just say I built a rapport with this guy, and he seems to be pretty nice, and it goes through at midnight, right? Because that's when all the money changes hands at all the banks, right? It happens at the stroke of midnight. If it's in my account at midnight, then I don't have to worry about anything.
That depends on your institution. Each bank goes by a different set of rules. So, for example, they could place a hold on it for 3 days to see if that check actually clears or not.
So if it shows up in my account, say tomorrow morning, online on my account, and I see that the $11,200 has been deposited,
Woohoo! Easy money!
could they call the money back like a week later?
Yeah.
They can? Up to how many days?
Normally it's 10 days.
So up to 10 days, I could still possibly have a problem after 10 days?
Correct. Like I said, it does depend on each institution.
Okay, so the safe thing to do would be to go deposit it and then hold on to my vehicle that I own now, hold on to it for 10 days, and then after 10 days, I can give the car to the shipper who's gonna come out to pick it up, and then I'll be safe, like my money will be safe?
Correct. And just, make sure you talk with your bank and let them know, hey, did you collect the $11,000 from the other guy's account? Make sure you ask them, did you collect it? Because it's very different for it to be available, but for the actual institution to have it collected.
So I have to ask my bank if the money's been collected, and after it's collected, quote unquote collected,
Then you're safe.
then I'm safe. They can't ever call it back again.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Cool, then I'm gonna try that way, and thank you very much for your time. So I'm gonna call my bank real quick. Hey Angela, this is Nico over at Charlie's.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good. Well, hey, I just sold a car, like a cross-country deal, and I'm trying to see, can you tell me what the process is for verifying funds from Center State Bank? If somebody gave you my account number, you would give them a confirmation of the account being open.
Correct.
But you wouldn't be able to give them any confirmation of if the money is good or bad.
No, do that on a three-way call because they generally won't tell anybody anything unless the client's on the phone. What we need to do is deposit that check if you've already got it, and we can, then after like 2 days, and then
She said something about like collected, and I don't know all these banking terms, right? But she said if the money was collected, she said that's very different than if it was collected versus if it was available.
How much are you talking?
$11,000.
Yeah, so typically that's why standard holds on the first 5,000 or for 2 days, and then the rest is 7 business days, which gets us to almost 10 regular days, and that's the window that a bank has to return an item. And when she means collected, it could be that they've deposited something in that account and it's on hold on their end. So when she says is it collected funds or not, I mean, you could put in a $2 million deposit today. If there's a hold on it, somebody calls, to say, hey, well, this check clear. It's technically not collected because we haven't gotten it from the bank that check's drawn on. So it will show up in the client's account. That money's there, but it's not available to pay checks on until the hold comes off.
Can I deposit this check into my account? Can I then wait 10 days and then just go walk back in and say, hey, Angela, is that money good or did it get called back?
Correct, yes.
I could do that.
Verify that.
Okay,
Yes.
but we have to wait the 10 days.
Yes.
Okay.
And then what I'll do at that point is I'll just call that bank, see if I can just say, can you tell me the paid date?
So we want to wait at least 2 business days after you verified the paid date. So what happens after the 10 days? So like say 10 days, let's say that this, the what I have holding right here is a stolen check. And let's say the 10 days goes by, the real business owner of the account doesn't catch it in his like 48-hour window of the paid date.
It's a loss to the bank.
Okay.
That processed it.
All right.
So not us, but it would be a loss to their bank if they couldn't collect it, or if it was fraud there. Their only chance of doing that is finding out, it's fraud, like when it hits and they call the banker to verify this large check's coming through, is this legit, and they say no, then they would reject it as a fraud or counterfeit check to us. But if they think it's legit and it pays, the signature looks good and everything else, you don't have to worry about a chargeback coming, 6 months down the road.
Okay.
It's a done deal.
Okay.
But that's why, anytime you're doing something like this, long distance, across states, whatever, you just get a cashier's check. They're much easier to verify, confirm. They have to pay that money in advance so you can get the check. It's just a much safer.
If I did get a cashier's check, I could call and verify that at the bank, and then they will do that? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's just much safer, and they can say yes, and they can even confirm it would be payable to you, what date was purchased, the dollar amount, so it can't get altered or anything like that. So it's just much safer since you're doing, business with somebody you don't know face to face. I would never, even if it's a business check, I would be very cautious to take that unless it's somebody you know.
Well, Angela, you have answered all my questions.
Yay! All right, well, call me if you need anything else.
Thank you. So we have gone over where the check came from, allegedly. We've gone over the amount of the check and how, they agreed at a $5,800 price. They sent a check for $11,200, almost double. We've called Center State Bank. Center State was unwilling to help us. They're like, hey, we can't give any information. I called my bank. The only thing we can do is deposit the check, wait 10 days. As long as the money doesn't come back, get called back, then the check's good. Our customer X, he's been texting and emailing them the entire time. He just asked if they could take a quick phone call because customer X did ask for a bank draft or a cashier's check, which this is neither. This is written against a business account. Back in the 80s and 90s, if you had a business check actually meant something. It had some form of validity. Today, business checks are like, they mean nothing. He's calling to say, hey, why didn't you send me a cashier's check? That's what I need. And I'm guessing they may not get back to him because usually they're very elusive and they don't want to actually have verbal communication. They want to keep it all on the typing. We waited an hour. They've been responsive in the past. They're not responding to my request for verbal communication. We're going to try to catch them in the act and actually call Center State Bank and have them on the phone and see how far we could take this. But it looks like this is about as far as we could go. The point of this whole entire thing is if you're trying to sell a car or a vehicle or something of that size or magnitude in that cost range, and you get a check And then they give you some other instructions like, hey, I'm gonna give you some extra money to pay the shipper or whatever. I can tell you right now, it's a scam. Don't do it. And I'm so glad that Customer X brought this in, because I've heard of this story a bunch of times over the last 5 or 10 years. This isn't a new story, but I've never actually held in my hand one of these fake checks. Don't let it happen to you.